The Parra Cave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Parra Cave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Parra Cave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Parra Cave.
Hello listeners, welcome back to the Parra Cave Podcast. Look, this is a bit of a somber podcast, or especially the start of it, as I am re-releasing the chat that I had with Russell Manser. Now, sadly, Russell passed away on Saturday in his apartment, and he is sorely missed already. Now, I had the privilege and the honour of having a chat with Russell on the podcast back in March of 2023. Well, that's when the episode 137 was released. I think it was a couple of weeks before that. I think it was in about February anyway as well. So, look, Russell did some great things in the community, some great things for survivors of institutional abuse, was great in motivational speeches. He was every day on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, and just gave some great inspirational quotes and stories and things like that. So, look, during the chat I had with Russell, I had another listen back to it yesterday, and during the chat, he talks about, obviously, his early life of being a bank robber, how he's turned his life around, but there's also a lot of rugby league talk in there as well, as Russell was a Penrith Panthers fan, having growing up in the Mount Druitt area, massive Penrith Panthers fan, but also a fan of those who were involved in rugby league. And look, he got the podcast as well, the stick up as well. And I first heard of Russell when he was on the Rush Hour on Triple M back in the day, and that's how I found out about Russell. I knew about him there, and I wanted to learn more about him from that interview that he had with Gus, Jude and Wendell on the Rush Hour on Triple M. So I discovered his podcast, started listening to it, and then one day I reached out to him and I asked him if he would like to do a podcast chat about, as he is a rugby league fan as well, and he said yes. He had no dramas in saying that. So we did a Zoom video chat and we put it together and released it last year. So when you listen to this again, if you haven't already listened to it, there may be some 2023 sort of quotes in there. I know he talks about J'Maine Hopgood coming to Parramatta and having a big year, and Parramatta having a big year. Unfortunately for the Eels, it wasn't. But he also does a little bit of a prediction as well in the podcast about who finished last as well in 2023, and he actually got that right. So look, there's some great chat about Jeff Fenech, Johnny Lewis, who are also tied into rugby league as well. But yeah, there's some, it's just it's really sort of shocked me since I found out on Sunday night about this, about his passing, and I just thought that this isn't about me and re-releasing a chat just to get listens. I just think that people should have a listen to his podcast chat that I did with him, because I think he's got some really great stories in there. And look, just to keep the memory of him alive. I know I was only a very, very small part in his life. There's others out there that were great mates, obviously his family as well, but there was others that were great mates who were in contact every single day and the like. So I was only a very small, minute part of Russell Manser's life. I did send him text messages here and there, and he replied back as well, very promptly as well, I must say. So look, I just appreciate the fact that Russell spent his time chatting to me, and I just want to reshare it again with you guys, simply because of his passing on Saturday. So it's not an ideal podcast, I guess, to put out, or the reason that I'm putting it out, but I just think people will want to listen again to Russell's story. Look, this is enough of me talking. I'm not going to put a Hindy quote in there this time. This is enough of me talking. I'm going to put the Russell chat on now. So, look, enjoy it. And we're thinking of you, Russell. We miss you. And rest in peace, Russell.
Hey, my name is Russell Manser. I'm the founder of the Voice of a Survivor. I'm about to kick off the Parra Cave Podcast with Troy. I'm really looking forward to it.
And as you heard from his intro, my guest today on the Parra Cave Podcast is a rugby league fan, but somebody I discovered lately to be found a really interesting person and listen to his story. Russell Manser is a former bank robber, prison escapee, sexual abuse survivor, but these days has turned his life around, and his story is really interesting. And through his podcast called The Stick Up, Russell has interviewed some really interesting people, and I thought I found the need to interview Russell himself about his story with a bit of rugby league thrown in as well. So welcome to the Parra Cave Podcast, Russell Manser.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. Being a Penrith supporter and all, I accept that a privilege, an acceptance has been made for you, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Well, I'm a Parramatta supporter that lives in Penrith. So,
well, you got a half of our juniors anyway, so it's okay. That's okay.
Now, the first time I heard about yourself was on the Rush Hour with Gus, Jude and Wendell.
Yeah.
And then I started following your podcast, which you're killing it at the moment.
Yeah.
And I started following you on Instagram as well. And I think you're the youngest of 6 kids, is that right? And grew up in Mount Druitt?
Yeah, grew up in Lethbridge Park in Mount Druitt, which has produced a lot of good footballers, and we've got such a good junior talent. As you can see, Mount Druitt today has produced 3/4 of the Penrith team.
Yeah, no, definitely. Was rugby league one of those things that you played as a kid?
A little bit of pieces, mate. Like, my family are English, so my dad used to say rugby league's a thug's game, and so I got to have a little bit of a game at school, but nothing spectacular. But I went to school with David Smith, who played for I actually lived next door. He played for the Roosters in Newcastle, and Rod Silver. I went to high school with him. Mark Blackburn, I think he had a run with Parramatta. There's a few players I went to school with that actually made grade, but I loved the game, loved Penrith. I can remember going to Penrith when they were just nothing, and Terry Wiki was playing for them, and then Brandy come along and changed the whole fucking thing. Brandy Alexander and that ilk, Mark Geyer, John Cartwright, and that sort of changed things. But yeah, man, I love rugby league. I'm a passionate supporter, and even in prison, mate, like, the rugby league season is what everyone looks for, because that's when time flies, when you're living week to week on it.
Yeah, no, definitely. If would you have wanted to be a first grade rugby league player?
Oh, without a doubt. I think every kid aspired to. They were heroes. I can remember a bloke called I remember Tommy Rodonicus. going to have dinner with, or we'll go and have a cup of tea with Mrs. Bevan, Mark Bevan, he played for West Magpies at the time. Going over there, and he was just a hero. He used to have a sports store in Blacktown Shopping Centre, Tommy Redonka.
Yeah.
He was just a hero. You know, those guys were gods, mate. You know.
Yeah, no, definitely, and rest in peace, Tommy. Certainly missed by many people.
Yeah, just a great out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely legend of the game and a real character of rugby league, both playing and after coaching and in the media as well.
Yeah, I done a podcast with Johnny Lewis the other day, legendary boxing trainer, and Johnny had tears in his eyes when I was talking about the death of Tommy. You know what I mean? He got in people's hearts, old Tommy.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now, your life of crime started early as a teen for yourself.
Yeah,
with a car chase after stealing.
In Parramatta.
Okay.
My first crime was committed in Parramatta. I stole a car, an old HT Ute, which I had no idea how to drive, and I had a crash in Parramatta. Like I crushed, I didn't know anyone else or I hurt anyone. I crushed a little pile and hurt myself. And then I went before the children's court. That was on a Saturday night. We went before the children's court on a Monday, and there was, back in them days, there was no diversion programs. There was just you done a crime, you got locked up straight away, trying to teach you a lesson. And I went to the notorious Darrick Boys Home. See, all my role models, like the people who I wanted to be, were like the criminals, the bank robbers, and the people making money the fast way, and that appealed to me. I used to see the factory workers up at the bus stop of a morning, and they looked so miserable, and that just didn't appeal to me to bit, because in Mount Druitt, not like we didn't produce doctors and lawyers and that. We produced factory workers and tradesmen at best. And even back in them days, tradesmen weren't being paid the money that they are now. And so that had no appeal to me. Working from going to work in the dark and coming home in the dark on a bus and being miserable. And so I aspired to be a criminal. I aspired to be in particular, a bank robber. Well, and I looked up to these blokes that were driving the best cars and dressing and they had all the good furniture, and I wanted to be like one. And my life of crime started off just stealing cars and stuff like that. Ended up in Darrick Boys Home, which was the subject of the 60 Minutes story because of prolific sexual and physical abuse that took place there, and I didn't escape it, unfortunately. And it changed my life going there, and it set me on a trajectory of drug use and escalation in crime. And also, I learned how to steal Porsches. It was sort of a bit of a college. People go, if you were sexually abused, wasn't that a deterrent for not going back there? If sexually abusing people doesn't deter, like if that was the cure for crime. But it wasn't. It was just ridiculous, and it was government sanctioned, I have no doubt. And anyway, I got sexually abused there, came out with sort of a big void. Drugs sort of filled that void, and by the time I was 16 going on 17, I got charged with stealing a Porsche over them in Northern Beaches. And I went before the children's court and was sentenced, and the judge stipulated I'd be served in an adult jail. His words were to deter me from future reoffending. I call him Judge Nostradamus because he made a prediction that he got it wrong, and he got it wrong. Once again, they housed me with the worst degenerates in the state at the time, and sure, they didn't see what was, and obviously there was a lot of like sexual abuse happening again. Got out. I was introduced to heroin while I was there. Got out with a taste for heroin and a void that needed filling, and and then I went on, and eventually ended up back in an adult jail. Done my apprenticeship as a bank robber in 2 years at Goulburn, and I got out and started robbing banks, and off I went, and I loved it. I didn't realise at the time that I was actually traumatising traumatising people like bank tellers and customers in the bank. I didn't realise that, and you know what? Because I just didn't know. I didn't know anything about trauma like I do now. I was eventually arrested for 3 bank robberies. I went to court one day and I escaped, and was apprehended. I robbed another 2 banks while I was on the run, and was apprehended in Alice Springs. And and I got the biggest sentence ever handed out in the Northern Territory for an armed robbery, and it was crazy. It was fucking crazy. And sex offenders were getting 6 months, and I got 9 years. It was crazy. And I'd done some pretty hard jail up there in the Northern Territory. I had like a riot squad up there that were trying to prove to me that how tough they were. And I had punch-ons with them 5 days a week. We got the weekends off to recover. And then it was back on Monday. And then, I eventually ended up back in jail in New South Wales. I ended up getting sentenced to 15 years for a non-parole period of 8 years. Served 8 years. But I got out that time. I got out 8 years clean. I got out 8 years clean off the drugs, and I thought I'd turn my life around. And met a girl, had a couple of kids, bought a house at Currumbin, right? Because I always said, I want to raise my kids near the beach, and I bought a place 300 metres off the beach in Currumbin, and I always thought, that would be it. But the trauma itself kept on raising its ugly head. It was like a festering sore with a Band-Aid on it. Until it was properly dealt with, it was never going to go away, and that sore was the trauma from the abuse. And I was a long time clean. I think it was around about 12 and a half years clean. I relapsed back on the drugs, and it took me 10 years to get clean again, and it took me a long time to get well. Ended back up in jail for another 8 years. And, my life changed when the best Prime Minister this country's ever seen, Julia Gillard, brought in the Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse. She was challenged all the way by all those grubs at the LNP. Tony Abbott and Morrison and all them people rejected the suggestion that we needed a Royal Commission in Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse. Well, I think, she showed some tenacity, Julia Gillard. She got it through, and it changed the lives of thousands of people, me included. I'm a big beneficiary of her bravery, and I'm forever grateful to her for that. And, when I told my story to the Royal Commission, I was given trauma counselling. That was the answer. Yep. I would have been given trauma counselling when I was 15 years old. Things might have been different, I would have been fucking not sexually abused when I was 15 years old. Things would have been different. I have no doubt. In my mind, whilst I was in jail, I was sort of forced to tell my story because I talked to the Royal Commission. We started trauma counselling, and I started engaging. I was talking to them on the jail phone. Now, when you're in a prison, when you're in a yard, there's like 50 or 60 blokes in the yard with you, and everyone knows what you're talking about. Well, I was suspicious that I was talking to the coppers, and then so what I had to do was call a yard meeting in front of 60 blokes. I had to declare what had happened to me. I had to talk about the sexual abuse, and I sort of felt I resented the fact that I was forced to have to tell what had happened to me. But in some ways, it didn't end up being the beginning of my organisation, the Voice of a Survivor. I told my story, and about 68 people told me theirs after it, and I helped them begin their healing journey. It was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing. And when I told them, I thought the reaction would be, I said, I'm talking, and some people could have taken it the wrong way, but everyone was very welcoming and really supported me how I told my story, and then I had all these other guys coming to me and telling me about, and some of the most violent inmates in Australia were telling me, and the more violent they are, it was like the worse the abuse was. And I just realised that I had this gift, and it was recognised by the Royal Commission itself that I had this gift where people felt, at ease telling their story to me. And I created a safe platform for survivors to tell their story. And, I got out and I started the Voice of a Survivor. I had a one-bedroom flat up at Coffs Harbour on a barbecue table. I didn't have an office, and it just quickly blew out. Today I employ 21 people. I work with 42 law firms nationally. Yeah, wow. I've got 16,500 clients, and it's fun. Like, there's a lot of things that have come to fruition. It was like, I met a crime writer through the death of ex-NRL footballer Daniel King up in Penrith. Daniel got shot dead by the police. Daniel had a really bad accident in the game, and which left him. He had to learn how to walk with brain damage, and which I guess was the catalyst for him acting out violently. he ended up in a shootout with the police. But anyway, the story, because I was good friends with him, all these newspapers wanted to talk to me. And I met a woman called Deborah Cornwell, and she was a crime writer, and she wrote my story. And then she said to me, "You'd have a great Australian story, And I said, "I'd love to go on that show. It's one of my favourite shows." She goes, "Well, I used to be a producer on it."
Yep.
And she got in contact with the producers, and they done an Australian story on me, which we filmed for 42 hours and 32 minutes. But it was just and that itself was so healing for me, and done a lot, of the podcast, the people I've met along the way, the feedback I get from survivors that I've helped. I base my life. I base my life on being in service of others. My life's not all about material stuff or anything like that. I've been through a stage of that, and it didn't work for me. It didn't fill me. It didn't give me a purpose. And but today I've got a purpose, and I've got the drive too, man. I really get up and I get into it. I know what I've got to do, and I love it. I love it, and today I walked five survivors today. And it's just, it was good. It's been a good day.
Yeah, no, it's certainly an amazing story of where you were and where you are now. Definitely, it's as I said, when I first heard you on Triple M there, I just followed you straight away, and your podcast, The Stick Up, it's a must listen every week. Can't wait for
every Tuesday we drop it.
Yeah. So every Tuesday morning on the way to work down the M4, it's on in the car. Yeah. So I find that a good place to listen to it. So there's some really interesting people on there, and let's just talk about the podcast. What was it? Just another avenue to express your story?
I went on Spanion. I went on the Spanion podcast. And I'd just done Australian Story, and Spanion came out on the Monday, and Australian Story came out on a Tuesday, so that was a big hit.
Yeah.
And then Spanion's manager, who's a top bloke, I don't think he likes his name being mentioned too much. He said, "You should do a podcast," and he introduced me to D&M, Diamantina Podcasting, and I think they're like the biggest independent podcaster in Australia. They actually produce Spaniards, and so I went down and had the owners of that contacted me, the bosses of that contacted me, and come in and said, "Let's give it a go. We really like what you're doing." It hasn't been looking back. I've got some pretty good guests like Mark Burris, Gary Jury, Dr. Charlie Teo, Mick Gatto, Jeff Fenech. Jeff Fenech is he'll watch the show. I'll send a link to Jeff. He's a Parramatta fan, and and plenty good ones to come. And I love doing it. I like Shannon O'Connell. I've got some really good ones coming up too. We're working on Julia Gillard at the moment, exploring stuff. That'd be just so good to do that.
Yeah.
That'd be so good to do that. And then, I just love doing it, man. I love talking to these people. I love, because with these sort of people, you meet them, you make a friendship after it too. Like, I message or speak to Mark Burris on a regular basis. He's a champion bloke. And Gary Jude, he's been on my podcast. I've been on his. Same with Mark Burris. I've done about 3 or 4 things with him.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love doing it, and I love the challenge of tracking these people down and getting them to say yes. I think that's the fun bit, I reckon.
Is it sort of a healing process for yourself as well, talking to these people? And
without a doubt, see what happens with trauma. The antidote for trauma is love, right? So if you've been traumatized, the only thing that loves you back out of trauma is the thing that gets you out of trauma is love. But when you go through abuse and that sort of thing, you're robbed of your self-belief. So all those things, to be engaging with those people and the comments that come back in and that sort of thing, it sort of gives you a self-belief that you can get on that level with the trauma, people, like with those sort of people. like David Lydiard, the Parramatta great's a good mate.
Good bloke.
Yeah, he's a good mate of mine, and he brought this bloke along. We had a meeting the other day. This bloke is going to be his business partner. He's going to be the next fucking Tesla. I'm telling you. He's just got this invention, and I don't really want to give him up, but he's got this invention. It's going to change the fucking world. I can tell you. It's just, and him and Lids are business partners, and I come home after that. I thought, fuck, look where I've come from. The beat, like. I talk about water finds its own level and your vibe attracts your tribe and all of those sorts of things. And to get on that level of that sort of person, to have them in your life, is really good. It's really good. And I just think my vibe, the positive vibe, attracts those sorts of people these days. Because, when you're a drug addict, you only attract fucking other shitbags and drug addicts, And so all of that stuff, the whole process of how I live my life today, every fucking minute of my day is a healing process, you know. I walk, and every step I'm walking towards, I just walk where I've just come from now. I walked 5 survivors into lawyers today to help them begin the healing process, and I come home satisfied.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, just getting back to David Lydiard, champion bloke, champion player, won premiership with Parramatta. He's come here to the Parra Cave before, and I've seen him a few times here and there, and messaged him a few times here and there. But I'll get him on one day as well.
Did he show you his abs?
Yeah, he loves to get his shirt off. That's for sure. But you spoke about the challenge there of trying to get guests on to your podcast. Who's been the hardest to try and get on, and who would be one that you're really trying to get on for your podcast?
Now, I'm trying to get on Julia Gillard now, but we're getting closer and closer.
Yep.
I've got some news today. Everyone wants Mick Gatto. Mick Gatto said to me at the end of my one, he goes, "That'll the last one I'll ever do,"
Yep.
To add value, because Mick Gatto's just a ripper of a bloke, right? He's just a ripper. He's just a really fucking good human being, Mick Gatto. Like, he should get an Order of Australia for what he does for people. But you know what? He does his charity in the dark, Mick. And he doesn't I think he's been thrown under the bus a couple of times, but he just loved what we do. He was really appreciative and grateful, but it's just not something he does. And he's got a really good charity. It's an autism charity I'm going to in April. But I think he was the hardest to get. But it was funny because I was standing there, he goes, "Who do you want on?" I said, "Charlie Tao," and he just rang him.
Yeah, wow.
Rang Charlie, and he goes, "Yeah, straight away. Any friend of Mick's a friend of mine." And it's funny. People say, "Who's your favourite podcast?" I love them all. I love them all differently. But Joey Williams, South Sydney Penrith footballer, Joey Williams, and boxer. That was something special, because Joey's got an amazing way to articulate trauma, and he's just got this way, and he gets to my soul. Joey, he's a good bloke, and but I love them all, man. I just, the Mick Gatto one, and mate, all of my Shannon O'Connell, the boxer. I take a lot away from every single one. I just go, fucking, there's a part of everything that I take away. I've got Ian Roberts coming up in the next few weeks. Yeah. We've got him coming up. Who else have we got? We're working on John Ibrahim and Kyle Sandilands at the moment. So, I just love the challenge of tracking these people down, meeting them, and making friendships with these people. Looking through my phone, the numbers sometimes go,
yeah, wow. Yeah, I get the same thing too when I contact people, and you're right, you do maintain that friendship and you message each other here and there, and it's really enjoyable to do.
I think the objective of a lot of podcasts is to explore someone's vulnerability. I think the best podcast you'll ever do is when someone gets vulnerable with you. Yeah. When someone shows a side of themselves, whether it's a softness or it's just nice. If someone's just there just being fucking tough and blunt and everything, it's boring as fuck. But when someone's willing to show a softer side to them, it's pretty amazing. And I get that with everyone. Jeff Fenech, when you talked about Johnny Lewis, Mark Burris, when he talked about, relationships and marriage and stuff like that, like what the price he's paid, Shannon O'Connell, when she talks about a mother, like everyone's got something, some vulnerability. And I think that's the beauty of podcasts. People just go, "Oh, that person's human. That person's just like me."
Yep.
That vulnerability makes people relatable.
Yep. Yeah, no, for me, it's I like the fact that I'm talking to them, and it brings back good memories for them as well about their playing careers, and because once they retire from rugby league, majority of them can be not known about, or they just fall off the radar. But there's only a handful that go on to be successful in media and stuff like that. But
I'm going to the Parramatta reunion in March with Lids.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to find out. Yeah, hit him up and find out when that is, and come with you for sure.
Yeah.
Actually, this is the shirt that I'm wearing is the Blue and Gold Alliance shirt. So that's the old boys group for Parramatta. So yeah,
I'm sure. I'm doing some lawyers have approached me to do it's some of the guys that have been affected by bad concussion. We're trying to do something like, as far as compensation goes, it's not, when people say that, you never sue in the rugby league, you sue an insurance company. So we're looking at doing something and getting some of them boys something that have really suffered bad concussion, and I think that's everyone I've spoken to has really embraced it.
Yeah, no, that'd be really interesting.
Pricey, look at Pricey, he's not in a good way.
No, fortunately, I had him on a couple of years ago for a podcast, and he's come out and said that he's not that well, and you look at Mario Fenech as well. He's been affected, which is not good to see at all. But certainly a tough, brutal sport, and another brutal sport that is a favourite of yours is boxing.
100%.
Just going back to when you were in prison, how much knowledge of the outside world of like rugby league and boxing did you know about?
Rugby league and boxing are the two most favourite sports in there. Like, you get the games on, it was just used to be Friday and Sunday, but now you get it Thursday, Friday, and Sunday night. And there's a thing called the tip-ins, right? So you go on, it might cost you a couple of cans of tuna, and you pick the scores in every game, and the winner, the best points, gets it. But the rugby league is followed. Everyone follows. Like, them Souths fucking fans, mate, they are passionate. And if a try scored, someone's kicking the door and making a noise and celebrating.
Yep.
We had, I personally was part of a charity day we had at Long Bay, where we raised $20,000 for Bear Goddess Children's Hospice, and Parramatta sent out a couple of players. Lee Adenryan was one of them. I recall. Yeah. This was in about 93, 94. South, St George, Gordon tell us it was St George, Penrith, West Magpies, North Sydney sent out Searsy, and a few other players, and we had some rugby union teams, and so it was a knockout comp for touch football. So it ended up being Souths versus Warringah Rugby Union in the final.
Okay.
And that's when they had Tricky, Craig Field, the Wood brothers, Garth and Nat, Tyrone Smith, Duncan McRae. So and it was just an amazing day. I organised it.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And it was just amazing. And football and Jack Gibson used to bring out the Australian team. Jack Gibson was a regular visitor to Long Bay Jail. But Jack Gibson was an amazing man who never, was always, fucking welcoming to inmates and that sort of stuff. He had a bloke, his name was Wicks. He was a front rower with...
Danny Wicks?
No, I think it was the Wicks. He was before Danny Wicks.
Oh, yeah.
But he was... I remember meeting this bloke. I was at MRC at Long Bay, and this bloke had some mental health problems. He was with Cronulla at the time, and he was a big front rower, and fucking he sorted a few blokes out when he was there, and it was just a fucking big difference. But he... And Jack visited him every week, and Jack loved that guy, and Jack would be in tears. He just loved this guy so much. He was like a son to him. And someone was telling me a story about them the other day, but Johnny Lewis was telling me a story about this bloke fucking swum up to Jack's fucking house with a fucking knife, and he said, Jack lived on the water somewhere, and this bloke, and Jack's looking out the fucking water, and here he comes swimming out of the fucking, like, canal thing with a fucking knife in his mouth, you know, like fucking target. Johnny Lewis is an amazing striker. The boxing, like, Johnny Lewis was always a regular. He'd bring out Costa Zoo, Justin Rouse, Rude Kennedy. He'd take Jeff Fenech into Parramatta to Park Lee to do sparring, and so boxing is, you know, has always been associated with jail. Like, everyone thinks they're a boxer in there, but not, you know, and everyone's got a boxing fucking. Everyone thinks they'll hold a set of focus pads and they think they're a boxing trainer. But rugby league, obviously, is jail rugby. I was in a jail rugby league team, man, and there was a bloke called Kevin Hinkney, who was from Mount Druitt, and he played reserve grade at Penrith at 15 when Tim Sheens was there.
Okay.
You know, he was an amazing player. When Tim Sheens went to Canberra, he took him with him. But unfortunately for Kev ended up in jail and on drugs and stuff like that. And you know, there's a lot of blokes in jail that made reserve grade. You know, a lot of blokes, and they were just standout footballers. But we used to have a jail team, and we played inter-jail against each other. And we had Bill Harrigan come in and ref a few games, and Len Stacker from Penrith come in and looked at if there was any talent there, but they were all just gone. But mate, you know, that's massive in there. Like, if they let you have a game of tackle, mate, I've seen blokes get swung off the sideline by their fucking hair. You don't ever have long hair in a game.
Yeah.
You don't. You never go out there with a ponytail.
Yeah, no.
Because fucking someone's going to fucking throw you off the sideline with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Toughest games I've ever been in, mate. I'll tell you. I played front row, second row, and oh man, every hit up, you know, you're going to get bashed.
Yeah.
It was a jail. I was down Junior years ago, and they had a game down there with the Air Force come in. They went away at half time.
Didn't want to come back.
Didn't want to play anymore. They just were fun. Everyone was like fucking tackle. There was elbows, knees, and every fucking tackle.
Yeah, no holds barred there.
Yeah. But it is. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, who would be your favourite Aussie boxers, both current and former?
Hard to go past Fenech.
Yeah.
Like, 4-time world champion. Like, he's a fucking hero. And just to interview him recently was just a big thrill. But when I look at, you know, Jeff Harding's another one. I think for toughness. I'm a big Jeff Harding fan, and I'm really excited. Like, you know, women's boxing. There's a few really good women coming through now, but I don't know. I'd like to go. I'll go back to the old fighters and go back a bit further to, you know, I like Tony Mundine Senior. He was a good fighter, good Australian fighter. Internationally, Sugar Ray Robinson, Carmel Brasilio was the best fight I'd ever seen. Like, one of the best 15 right round fight. And that Brasilio had his ear hanging off at the end from being left hooked to the head. You know, I love the sport. I actually took a fighter, Angelo Hydo, who was associated with Parramatta, with Danny Green. Danny Green, there you go. Green is another one because he's another favourite of mine. You should get him on. Your podcast.
Yeah,
but he's like, Danny Green's just a good bloke. He's been such a good friend to me since I've been out of jail. And I went to Manchester, England. Angelo sent me over there with a Tanzanian fighter called Bruno Tarimo, and I went over there, took the fighter, and I cornered in front of 12,500 fans in Manchester Arena with 12,000 screaming fans singing Oasis songs between fucking rounds, like fucking atmosphere, like nothing. How do them players feel when they go out in front of, you know, 70,000, 80,000? Like, man, that was just mind-blowing. And I was over there for 10 days, and boxers over in the UK get treated like rock stars.
Yeah, yeah.
You walk out the street, and everyone knows, you know, you can be from out of town, everyone knows who they are. So, yeah, I done that. And, the boxing game has been really embraced the work I do at the Voice of a Survivor. They've been really, you know, really supportive of it. And, you know, I've sponsored a few fighters. Sponsored them. Chanel Dargan, I sponsor her at the moment. I sponsor Jazzy Parr, daughter of legendary Wayne Parra. Sponsor them at the moment. Like, and I've sponsored different fighters over the years, but I love the fight game, man. And I think there's parallels between boxing and there's between boxing and business and life. About you're going to get out of life what you. And me and Burris, we talk for ages about that.
Yeah.
We talk about, like, he talks about the similarities in business, and he goes, mate, you can't take shortcuts. You've got to be committed. You've got to take sacrifices, and very similar boxing and fucking business. Who would have thought?
What are your thoughts about rugby league players becoming boxers? Does it help the boxing profile? Or?
Well, Anthony Mundine breathed life into boxing Australia. There's no doubt about it. He and I think if he wasn't around, I think it would have been in a bad way. He brought life, and a lot of fighters got paid good money because of him. So a lot of fighters and people think Greeny and Mundine hate each other. They actually like each other.
Yeah.
They made each other a lot of money,
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
And they made each other a lot of money. And sorry, mate.
I think they still have the highest rating fight pay-per-view, I think, don't they? The second one?
Yeah, for sure. And that, Gallen, mate. Gallen was really good for boxing, and what Gallen was, he was he created a show, verbling and everything. I don't think he's that type of guy, but he knows he's a showman, Gallen, and he got the crowd hunting, and and he got the show hunting and everything like that, and just a good guy, man. He's just a good guy like that. A lot of fighters, including, we got a heavyweight at the moment, Justice Winnie. I think he's something special, and I think Justice Winnie and even Tyson Fury acknowledged his talents, and I think you'll see some in the next 2 or 3 years. You'll see some really big things from Justice Winnie. I think I think he's only 23 or 20. I think he's 23, but I think in the next 4 years, I think, at 27 he'll really peak.
Yep.
He'll peak at and someone like a promoter like Eddie Hearn will get hold of him, and they'll do something really special with that kid. He's a very, very special fighter. He'll be. I'd say it'll be hard. I doubt very much we'll ever see a heavyweight like that kid again. He's just so special.
There's a really good podcast he did with a good friend of mine, Hayden Knowles. Get the Edge podcast, and Justice was on there, and really humble bloke, and as you said, going to be a big champion in the future. But it's a
Hayden's Parramatta conditioner or something, wasn't he?
He was, in the late 90s, early 2000s, and he's been at Penrith and the Roosters and Newcastle as well. So just on the weekend he was the Indigenous team trainer. So he was over there. So
you guys have got Tyrone Hopgood this year. What a talent!
J'Maine Hopgood.
Oh yeah, mate, I'm thinking Tyrone's his elder brother. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
J'Maine Hopgood, like him, and that story. I'm getting him and his mother on the podcast together because I know his mum's a good mate of mine, and getting them on. They've got an amazing story. Like, his dad passed away at a football game of a heart attack at a half time, and man, like, his mum's just an amazing woman she sacrificed everything. She moved from Harvey Bay down to Penrith to be with him and support him, and that's that family. She's a heart and soul of the game like that. Someone like that. The NRL and she's taken on a lot of Indigenous kids. She's Indigenous. She's taken on that are living, like, they've moved in with her at Penrith, and she's an amazing woman. And I think the NRL really owe her a big favour. She's an amazing woman, Anita. And I'm going to get them on. I'm going to get them on sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well, can't wait to hear that story. Us Parramatta fans are certainly looking forward to the season ahead with J'Maine.
He'll be the best buy. I'm telling you, he'll be the best buy of the year. I'm telling you, without a doubt. I have no doubt. no doubt that kid is a phenomenal player. He just played in Indigenous All-Stars on the weekend.
Yeah, well, he won the Player of the Year in New South Wales Cup last year, got man of the match in the grand final, the Interstate Challenge, and all the Supercoach pundits expect him to be the number one buy for their Supercoach teams, but really looking forward to seeing him play. Yeah. And he's probably moved to Parramatta to get that start, because you're not going to get that start in first grade at Penrith.
And Penrith's a tough ask, isn't it? Especially in a, but he's a good kid from a good family and an amazing story of feet, he's had it all. He's had that, lost an uncle to suicide. His uncle was graded with the Roosters in Canberra, I think, Sonny Johnson his name was. I remember that happened. And his mum's just amazing. His brother Tyrone was graded with Manly, and he just got homesick, and then he went home. But he was another one who could have went all the way, Yeah. But I think the young bloke, I think J'Maine is sort of inspired by all that. Like, he's taken a bit about his father's passing, and I think he's a kid that's got a lot of gratitude at the effort that his mother's made. You know what I mean? And I think he lives and breathes the game. So I'm really looking for that. I think Parra will be my second team after that to see that kid do well. Well,
I can certainly help you out with a Parramatta hat.
I don't know I'll go that far, but but I'll dead set I'll be watching it with David, with anticipation. I really want to see that kid do well. For that whole community up there, a big rugby league community up there at Harvey Bay. They love in that catchment area up there. They really love the game.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Well, speaking of hats, I follow you on Instagram and
got some.
Yeah, I've watched your live videos and your posts, and you're always wearing a different hat, like now as well.
Every day.
How many do you have?
About 120, I think.
Yeah, wow. Wow. Is there a favourite, or they're all favourites?
No. Well, I've got a few. I've got Tyson Fury ones. The Gypsy King one I bought when I was in Manchester. He's got a shop. He's got a thingy shop. So I went over there and I bought a whole the green WBC stuff. And when I got back, everyone's trying to buy it off me. But I've got 3 or 4 Gypsy King hats that I really like. So, and I very rarely wear them. I sort of, yeah.
When did you start collecting hats? And
when
what
I started going bald.
Yeah, fair enough.
When I started going bald, I thought, anyway, it's a better look.
Obviously then that's what made you start collecting then?
Yeah. Trying to look good. It's fucking a bit of a throw off, yeah.
How many more do you think you'll I
try to get 3 or 4 a week. I try to buy 3. And shoes, man.
Yeah.
I've got 100 plus pair of running shoes, but I get sick of them and I'll go and give them to homeless people and that. Sometimes, and some of the times I don't even wear them. So you give someone a brand new pair of shoes, and I always say I like giving people gifts of shoes because it protects their soul, And that's part of my message there. I want to protect your soul.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, good.
Nice. Now that you're out of jail, living a successful life, how much do you keep up with the rugby league?
Look, I'll tell you something now. For me at the moment, it's really hard because I work big hours,
Yep.
I'll work week. Most Sundays I'm working anyway. But man, I'm always following Penrith. I was seeing Canterbury had a big win on the trial over the weekend. So I want to have, because they got half of our fucking team, the Canterbury fucking Panthers.
Oh, don't worry, they got our hooker too, mate.
Yeah.
Rudy.
So they're bought well, and it's a rich club. But I've got Nico Hines coming on the podcast soon.
Oh, yeah.
I've got him lined up. Yeah, I've got him lined up, and I'm looking forward to that. So I'm getting my TV hooked up. I'm just waiting to get it warm mounted. So. I dare say I'll get time. I'll be able to slow down. And that's been one of the big objectives for me this year, is to sort of have a work-life balance, because the last 5 years it hasn't. I've been working big hours.
Yeah.
But it's getting to the point paying off where I can take my foot off the hammer a little bit,
Yeah, you definitely need that work-life balance, that's for sure.
That's tough going.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Can the Panthers go 3 in a row this year?
No doubt.
No doubt. It's going to be hard.
And I think Melbourne's Storm sort of fade. I think, you know what I mean, like that era they had. You know, like the Broncos had that golden era, but in saying that, they'll just pull out some fluke out of the Queensland Cup and fucking Bellamy will turn him into a fucking Cameron Smith, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I shouldn't say this because Burris he's on the board with the Roosters, but I just, because
he won't be listening anyway. It's all right.
Oh, you never know. I'm on a report back and he's got spies everywhere. But look, Roosters and Manly. I think Parra, like, he's had a strong finish last year, you know, and he had a strong finish, and I never seen it. You know what? Because when someone said to me, "Oh, fucking Parra might be in the grand final," like, and I went, "What the fuck?" Because he's had a couple of lean years, you know.
Yeah.
So there's a lot about Brad Arthur, doesn't it? You know.
Oh, it does. He a favourite coach amongst most of the players there, and hopefully it shows that they'll retain a lot of their players, which they have. Junior and RCG and Gutho and Dylan Brown, and the last piece of the puzzle is probably Mitchell Moses, so hopefully he can...
I haven't signed him yet.
Well, I have a feeling he's signed, but it hasn't just been announced yet, so
yeah.
I've got a feeling it'll be announced on the first game, so they're just holding...
You need that stability, don't you, in anything.
Definitely. You mentioned there Nico Hines. Is he amongst your favourite current rugby league players?
Oh, without a doubt, he's a freak.
Yeah, scored a try and got man of the match on the weekend too.
Yeah, but you know, you can play him anywhere. Like, you know, to hear that he was playing at halfback, you know what I mean? Like, he's a fullback winger centre at Melbourne Storm. Like, you know, when the fullback had an injury, that's where he really came into his own down there. Like, wow. And I like him because he's got a backstory, you know. His backstory of dysfunctionality he comes from, and you know, his mum just had some problems, and he honoured his mum. You know, like at the win, he doesn't shy away from that. You know, I'm good friends with Ben Eichen, the CEO of the Broncos. Yeah. And he's another one, man. Like, you know, the Channel 9 show wanted to throw him under his bus when his old man hit a hurdle and just said, fucking told him to shove their job up their ass, and off he went. And, you know, he's done all right. He's a fucking... Eichens are just beautiful people. Really been supportive of me over the years. And, yeah, you know,
he'd be another one good to chat with, Benny Eichen.
Jump on it. It's too private. I think he sees a TV camera and he runs away. He's so private, you know, and it's funny, you know, when the Broncos fucking play, he just stays at home. He said, what am I going to do? So I can't fucking put on boots, you know.
Yeah.
He said, fucking from home. He said, I'm just going to watch the game from home. I think he'd rather be out playing golf, but he's just a ripper of a guy. Really been a good friend of me. I went to his wedding. Funny story, I went to his wedding. I went to the Bucks. I went to the wedding, but at the Bucks night, Wayne Bennett, all these blokes are sucking up Wayne Bennett's ass, and I was pissed as a fucking mute. And that Andrew G got me in some trouble. He just kept on feeding me these bourbons. He said me drinking bourbon. He goes, "You drink bourbon, Dan?" I go, "Yeah." He just fucking paralysed me. Anyway, I seen Wayne, all these blokes sucking up his ass, radio announcing. I said, "Yeah, hey, Wayne, Russell Manser, retired bank robber." And he laughed. He said, "Oh, of course you are." And Ben said, "Nah, he is. He's fucking." I met him when he was in jail, and anyway, long story short, after the wedding, we're at his house at Mount Omni. And anyway, when I was at the wedding, I said, his brother was in charge of the police on the Gold Coast, Bob Bennett. And I said, "Can you get your brother to leave me alone?" And I said, he goes, "Yeah, I'll give you a deal." He goes, "If you don't do anything wrong, the brother will leave you alone." Anyway, and by this, I went to the reception at his house, and the brother's standing there with Bob Bennett and Craig Bellamy, and fucking he called me over. "Come over, here's my brother Bob," you know. He goes, and he said, "Oh, you know, Russell asked me to get you to leave you alone." He goes, and his brother knew all about me because they copied to get intel on you from the coast. He goes, the intel we get, mate, you're fucking on the straight and narrow, so good luck with it. And I just fucking feel like a fucking dickhead. Fucking dude. But I like Wayne Bennett. I met him a couple of times. I think he's just a fucking really nice guy, and I like how he can bring out the best in men. I'd love to be able to interview him one day. Just like how he does it. Like, what is it? And Bellamy's got it. And they just Johnny Lewis has got it. They can just bring out the best in men.
Yeah, no, it'd certainly be interesting to see how the Dolphins go this year. I don't think they'll finish last, but I think
West Tigers will finish last.
Not ninth.
Until they get rid of their board, they're going to fucking go nowhere.
They certainly do have a lot of dramas every year, don't they?
Yeah, they need them the board members to fucking start putting on boots or something.
Yeah, that's it. We'll wrap things up with the set of six, the segment I call the set of six, and it's sort of like the bit of personality sort of questions. Is there a favourite sport outside of rugby league and boxing at all?
I'm not going to say bocce, but I don't know. UFC start. Okay. I've stuck to my guns. I'm a boxing purist.
Yeah.
And I was hanging on to the end, but Volkanovski, man, like he's breathed like for me, that bloke's just a freak. So
and a former rugby league player as well.
Yeah, he played front row.
Yeah.
Fucking built like he's a fucking midget. Played front row.
Yeah. Apparently robbed yesterday in his fight, unfortunately.
Yeah, he was robbed. Yeah, he was robbed.
That's it. Now, living outside, what's your specialty dish in the kitchen or on the barbecue?
Oh, mate, I love to cook. Because I try to eat healthy because I train, but mate, I can do a fucking I can do a mango and crust. Oh no, what is that? I'll do it. I like to cook fish, right? Okay. So I'll do a rainbow trout, lemon and lime dill glaze with a mango and avocado salsa. That's pretty fancy, but I worked in a restaurant at Parramatta called Barnaby's.
Okay, yeah.
And so I started as an apprenticeship there, so I worked there. So the bloke I went out was Michael Fisher, who was the president of the Australian Catering Association. I was going to do it, I had the flair to do it, but anyway, too busy. I wanted to be a bank robber more than I wanted to be a chef.
Much more long hours in being a chef.
Well, the hours ain't that big in bank robbing.
No, over and done.
Yes.
Is there a favourite sporting documentary or movie that you love watching?
What do I watch? Oh man, there was something on Frank Williams, the Formula One guy in a wheelchair. It was pretty special. Boxing ones are always good. The boxing ones, like anything boxing, I like boxing. I think there's, any boxing one. Did you guys had something? Parra had something to do with Jai Appetite too, didn't they? Like I know he's a South supporter, but there was something done with them. But documentaries, or mine are all boxing documentaries, But the Frank Williams one from the Formula One was something special. In a wheelchair and stuff like that, and how he become like he was the big. And I don't even like Formula One. I don't give a fuck about Formula One, but the story of him was pretty amazing. Yeah,
it certainly was probably the second biggest team in the 80s and early 90s behind McLaren and probably Ferrari as well.
Yeah.
Now, you know a lot of, who I would call famous people, but is there a person that you would love to meet that you haven't met before and have a coffee with and a chat?
Mike Tyson, without a doubt.
Yeah.
No, Mike Tyson. I'd pay money for that, not a problem,
How, do you reckon you get him on the podcast if he ever came out to Australia?
Jeff Fenech's got some pull, and he's on the hit list. And Fenech, mate, he's a champion. The champion always wins.
Yeah. definitely. Is there a favourite quote or saying that you live by and share consistently?
Yeah, for sure. And it's from a book I read, by Conversations with God, by a bloke called Neil Donald Walsh, and it says, if you don't go within, you go without.
Okay.
You know, that's my favourite quote.
Nice. Who is your favourite band or solo artist to listen to?
There's a guy from up in Byron Bay I really like. He's and I've been to his house, and he's just got this really, man. He's just got this. He's an Aussie, like, you know, and he's an Aussie Samoan, and his name Bobby Arlou, Charlie Wall, and it's just fucking my type of music, man. I just get on my lawnmower on my phone. I've got a 15-acre farm, and I get up there on my lawnmower. I just listen to it for hours, and just fucking was out 5 acres of mowing. So yeah, and I've got such an eclectic taste in music. I really have.
Yeah.
Listen to fucking, you know, there's some rappers from Doonside called Hooligan Hefs at the moment, and I fucking love that shit.
Yeah.
You know, and I love their message because it's the voice of the West. You know.
Nice.
They're
I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, he's got a song at the moment, Hooligan Hefs. It's got the song's called Ruthless. I fucking love it. I've had it on replay in my car. I'm saying to my girl, I think the fucking. And she goes, no, you just fucking take it off repeat.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
Little Doonside. And if I'm Doonside, there's a bunch of rappers in Doonside and Mount Druitt. And they're fucking all Polynesian kids that are doing really well.
Yeah, not only can they play rugby league, but by the sounds of it, they can
go to church. Sing, fight, go to church.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, Russell Manser, thank you very much for your time and your chat today. I could have talked for hours and hours.
Yeah.
I'm sure the fans will love it too, and listeners and watchers.
Forgive me, but I do. I'm a big fan of fucking. Mate, I'd be happy if Parra won the comp this year and Tyrone fucking J'Maine Hopgood got me in a match. I'd be happy with that. And I'll tell you what, you want to get him on. You want to get him on because he will interview really well.
Yeah, definitely. And listeners and watchers, follow Russell's podcast, the Stick Up Podcast, because as I said, it's really interesting each week. And one day I hope to catch up and say good day. And thank you very much again for coming on the Parra Cave Podcast.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks for having me, man. Thank you, listeners. I appreciate the support.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Parra Cave Podcast. See you next time.